Yep, we're doing some modifications to the old do some mods to the Harbor Freight unit. I got this pressure blaster too, and this one, and we constantly have had problems with this one here not being able to use it, but we watched another guy's video on it on how to make it work better, and we're gonna go ahead and show you what we did to ours, and then but we're doing a little bit better. We're going for one up, and you know, hey, isn't that what it's all about? You one up everybody a little bit. So we went ahead and made a stand, and we're putting our little this little guy on here, our pressure blaster, so that it's off the floor, so that when we want to move stuff around, we can have everything on wheels, just roll it around. It is a little higher than I was hoping, but I think it'll be good, like high like this. No, I think it's fine. Actually, for me and you, it's perfect. But for some people, that might be too high off the ground. If you look at your arms, but when you're actually using it, you're kind of resting your arms right here, so it'll be in a good place, and your face will be a little bit closer to the glass so you can see. We're also putting in a 5-gallon bucket here, and a spinning, they like a turbine type of thing where it spins the crap around that goes down so it doesn't clog up your vacuum. So we're going to hook up a vacuum in here. We're going to show you the tubing a little bit later, but this is just the first step of this. So stay tuned for the rest of the video. All right, so here we're going to talk about the mods we're still doing to our sandblaster from Harbor Freight, and this is one of the things, you know, when we used it, when we first got it, it would just constantly clog up, and it was just irritating, and I just stopped using it. So I went on YouTube and looked at some other guys, and so this is the stuff we incorporated into ours. This here is available on eBay for like 20 bucks, and I think it's a little bit better quality than even the ones, the dirt, I think it's like a Dirt Devil or Dirt something, Dirt Demon, I think. And what it does is it spins the dirt around, the media around, and then sends the heavy stuff to the bottom, and then the air comes out of here, so it keeps your vacuum from clogging up the filter. Otherwise, what happens is if you just hook it up directly to this, your vacuum will just clog the filter immediately. So that's one of the mods we made. We got paint, an old paint bucket, a paint lid from a, you know, that's the one we use for painting, and you know, and then just drilled a hole in it and made that so the dirt falls down in. We made this cart right here out of, you know, it was like a guy gave me a cart that was like for clothing or something like that, and I let it sit outside for a while, and I knew wasn't really going to use it for clothing, and I just thought, wow, those wheels in the frame would be really handy. So we just took that and got our free wheels and our free cart, and dissected it and made it into this. The other ones I saw were made out of wood, and I really like using metal. But then we still have storage under here, so we used up some of our real thin sheet metal we had. Just put some storage, you know, so we have some storage under there, and it also rolls pretty easily. So the other thing that happens on these things is the gloves. I think they lasted me about an hour. I've upgraded these, even the ones I got. Be careful. I got some really good ones. I forget from where. I mean, they were like the best quality ones that I could find. The good website, wasn't on eBay or anything. And even at those, they cracked. So if your gloves happen to crack and it's fixable, what we did is we took some cloth, just some old rags, and then filled the holes with silicone, and then put the rags on like a patch. And it works really good. It's holding pretty nicely. On the inside of here is a pickup tube. What ours came with was just a straight tube right here. And it had a straight tube, you know, which we're still using. And the problem, what we found is, this is where the major stuff is done, right here. The problem with these sandblasters is they suck too much sand up here. So it'll when it sucks sand up, all of a sudden it sucks up, just chokes on the sand, and it gets plugged up right here at the gun. And so when it gets too much sand at once, that's, that might be a good thing, you'd say, but it's actually really irritating. It made it not work very well. So what these two tubes are is, one is an air vent tube, and the other one is our suction tube. And so this one here vents all the way up above the sand. Okay, so this can just suck air, no problem. And then what we did is we drilled, what size was that hole? 1/8 inch hole.
5/16 for the bottom and 1/8 inch for the top.
No, a 5/16 hole through all 1, 2, 3 sides of the tube. Okay, you follow me? And basically, then we patched over this hole. We just welded up a piece, put it over it. Which you could use J&B weld if you don't have a welder to do this. It'd work fine. Or you can J&B weld these two pieces together if you don't have a welder. And what it does is basically it has the air can go up this tube and go through that hole, and it kind of mixes air and sand together in here, so that it kind of keeps the sand from choking on itself. And then what you have here is, and then up here is a 1/8 inch hole right up here and this is actually, if you look here, this is the suction tube for the sand. Okay, so right here where it goes above, right here, there's a little 1/8 inch hole, and that's kind of the effect, like, when you're drinking out of a drinking straw and you kind of, you have a hole in your straw. It's real irritating, but it gets bubbles in your drink when you're trying to drink it. Well, what that does is make it so you can't drink as fast, right? The same thing happens with the sand. So between this hole here sucking a little bit of air and this one here sucking a little bit of air, the sand is able to go through this thing and not plug up. Now, we did notice that when we did that, we had to take still, a few times, take our finger and put it over the hole and pull the trigger, and what that does is push the sand backwards and unclog it a few times, because it was so clogged up that it didn't work. But after we did that, we noticed that the sand, it picked up so much better by doing that. So now it's a lot more usable than it was. We noticed that, it seems to work pretty good. So the next thing we did too is we noticed on their thing they had how to put up lights. So what I did is I bought one of these fixtures here. What are they called? Those motion lights. One of those motion light fixtures. So I just took the motion part off and chucked it, and I took the 2 light bulbs here, and I'm going to put, I'm going to take this light here out altogether. This one's coming out. Okay, I put a temporary light in like this, and there's not near enough lighting from this. Okay, so that's one of the things. There's just no light in here. It's terrible. So what he did in his is he has LED. We're putting LED floodlights in here, so it'll be super bright. And since they're LED, they won't get really hot. So I don't know if he had LED floodlights, but that's what we're going to step it up to that. Now, one of the things that he did to his, we noticed this other guy had one. He put in he got rid of all there's going to give you like a tape or something like that for the seams, and he caulked all the seams. We're not going to bother to do that, to caulk all the seams, because we figure that if we've got a suction on this side with the vacuum, that we should be, and we're not worried about, like, if you were in a really clean room, like if you wanted to keep your room with no dust in it and stuff like that, and you want to have your sandblaster in there, then you probably would want to caulk everything. But since you can look here, we're not really worried about that. So we're going to go ahead and just not bother with the caulking, and we're going to see how it works. And we've actually We haven't tried it with this machine yet hooked up, but and we really want our lighting so we can see at the same time. And then what we'll do is we'll get rid of some of these layers on here. I've got, you know, there's you know, this has glass underneath, and I'm going to peel this off and we'll clean that off and get a nice clean look inside there with some bright lights. We'll be able to see what we're doing. You know, you don't need to see that well, but if you can see well enough to at least know what you're doing, to whether it's taking off the paint or not, that's kind of where we're going with it. So I guess we're going to wait for our lights to come in. Now this is what we use though. This is the cool thing, is I use these fixtures. Okay, I was going to finish with these lights, I forgot to. These screw in, you know, these have like a little threaded part. Well, these also have a threaded part too, so I just threaded them from there right through the hole that we drilled in this thing here, and threaded them right into this fixture to the wires. And then right here, you can actually, if you wanted to, you could put a plug in here if you wanted for another whatever accessory you wanted to hook up. You could put a plug plate on here, but we didn't bother with that. And then you run your wiring through here and a switch over here. So there's a switch here, and then on the same thing on this one here, on the other side of here, there's one of those, you know, there's a threaded side to it, and we just threaded the fixture right into these. These are called these are exterior. What are they called? I don't know. I can't remember the name of them. But anyway, they're for exterior boxes for your house. You know, that works really nice. Then we just put a clamp-on connection here, and we're going to put our plug. We still haven't got it. Our plug on here from Harbor Freight. So that's it for the lighting. So it should be really pretty easy to do. If you can see, that's an easy way to make lighting for your box. You know, it'd be so much easier. Some of the guys, you know, they've made more elaborate things and used LED and stuff like that. We're going to use LED screw-in bulbs for this style right here. Yeah, just regular, standard, so that, you know, they could get sand in them maybe, but, you know, but they'll be easy to change. So that's the only thing, you know, and being that far away, I don't think there's going to be too much of a problem with that. But anyway, that's it for the mods we're doing. I don't know if we'll get in here to do a demo on it, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. It all depends on I got to get my cord. We got to clean these, put some clean ones on there. I got some new ones there. And go from there. I also put tape, you know, blue tape on the other side, so I peel it off as I go, so I don't go through those things as fast, the little shields. Anyway, all right, talk to you in the next portion. So I'm finished with the mods. I got my lights in. I'll show you how bright they are. Put a little switch here, and you can see so good inside here now. And I just had it on a second ago. You don't see any cloud of dust in there, do you? Not too much. Anyway, I'll do a little quick demo here. Let's take a look. Noise alert. I'm going to turn on the vacuum. There's a little bit of, get a little closer, it might be a little bit better. I'm sandblasting really far away using coal slag. It's not bad, this is pretty quick. So coal slag media, the cheap stuff. I already got it at White Cap. You notice there's no dust in here at all. So you can see, really nice. I do have, my media is old, so I did have to, if you notice I got a little plug up for a second, and that's because it was picking up some chunks of stuff in there. There's a few chunks of stuff in there. We tried to sift some of it out. We should just replace it. So let's go over what we did again. All right, so I have this big giant vacuum hooked up here. Actually, not really the one I wanted. My wife really wanted me to get this big giant thing, and I was like, no, I don't want to store it. So eventually I'm going to replace that with one that fits over here. Would be nice. I'll use it for everything, but it works really good for this, and it doesn't plug up. So I'm trying to remember what this thing was called. Every time I go to do a video, I can't remember what it was called. But it's a Cyclone dust separator is what it's called. If you look up that, there's some name brand one, dirt something monitors or whatever. I don't know. It's $50 on Amazon, and this is like, I think, better plastic from what I could tell. It looks like it's thicker, and this was on Amazon for $20. So that's what we ended up with there. I actually had these silicone tubes left over from my turbo kit on my Rabbit, so I just used those. And then this one just kind of shoves in there. You can probably just use a rubber hose. You know, they have at Home Depot, they have those rubber, what's this called? ABS. Rubber ABS connectors. Probably work fine, 2-inch. Same thing. And then, you know, this is the same thing, turbo kit. And this is just some remnant pipe pieces we put together. I don't know what size they are. Maybe 2 1/4. I don't know. We just took this off, took it down to Home Depot, and matched it up. So, and you know, like I said, there's a bunch of different ones of these things. There's ones that are, I don't know, they just look different than this one. So you could do these modifications and make them all for yours. And it works great now. You know, I mean, before if I was sandblasting that piece, I'd be just like so frustrated it wouldn't even work. I don't know if I showed you guys. I'll do this again real quick. Sorry if it's repetitive. Oh, I had to open the hole up here, if you notice. Because it had this sort of a pickup tube on here. It had like a double tube thing or something like that. That's just a bad design. So we put in a sistered on a piece of pipe on here. So we have our piece of pickup, then we have a pipe next to it, and then this pipe has a hole here, 1/4-inch hole, and then it has I think it's 3/8 hole between the two tubes. So we drilled through this side, went through the, welded it together. You could JNB weld it if you don't have a welder. And we drilled through this pipe, the other side of this pipe, so all the way through this pipe here, and then drilled just through 1/2 of this pipe. So you see there's no hole here. And what that does is sort of the effect of, you know, like if you suck in a straw, you know, it kind of brings air in with it at the same time, and then what it'll do is kind of keep the sand from getting clumping up inside the tube. And that really just helps a lot with because what happens is it tries to turn the corner here, too much sand, and then when it tries to turn the corner there, it just plugs up. So it just doesn't work very good unless you do it like this, you know, unless you do something that modifies these you know, you can see there's junk in there. Look, there's junk in my sand, so, you know, that's the problem. That's why it's, if you can look here, there's junk in there. So that's why it was sucking up a big old piece of something. But it's easy to just put your finger over it and back flush it, and then it doesn't seem to clump up near as much as it did. It was doing it so bad that it was irritating. We put the LED bulbs in. These are just LED. I got these for $6 for $17 on Amazon. And it works really good. So I've got the light switch here. Now, if you wanted to be really fancy, you could use the same idea here and put a plug right here and have the plug connected to the switch and have your vacuum plugged in here, and then put the vacuum down here on the base. You know, that might be what I'll do. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I haven't decided yet. Depends on the size of the vacuum I get, if it fits. There's the one I have an eye on that's a little smaller than this thing. Like I said, I didn't really want this vacuum. It was just too big. I was like, man, I don't really want one that big. But I don't know, there was something, we were doing a bathroom remodel or something. She said, oh, I want that big vacuum. Okay, whatever. No big deal, you know. But anyway, that's, you know, you don't need a vacuum that big. You don't need that. You just need some vacuum. And apparently, from what I've heard from other people, that it will not plug up. Where if you hook up just this straight tube to here, you're going to have a major plug up on your vacuum very quickly. Where this, it doesn't plug up at all. It just, you know, so you're not going to ruin your vacuum. And that's kind of a worry, you know, that I wouldn't want to have happen. So, and the other thing we did, we just caulked this thing because, you know, if you're up here, you don't really want anything blowing out of here in your face. But the rest of it I didn't caulk, and I just used it just now, and I didn't notice anything coming out of the cracks because you're putting a negative flow in there by using the vacuum. So because you have a negative flow inside, I think it's kind of unnecessary to take and caulk all the corners. Maybe if you want to do it, go for it, you know, but I think it's really kind of pointless. But anyway, that's it for the mods we did. We actually put a pedestal on here for my so that the reason I did this is because, you know, occasionally I'll have something I have to sandblast that's too big, and this thing's kind of handy to use. It's really powerful, one of these pressure blasters, but it's kind of tricky to use too, but it does work really good. And so I put a stand on here just so that when I need to clean, I can roll the whole thing out, put everything on wheels. Something I like to do. I like to have everything on wheels in my shop so I can roll everything around, take it all outside real quickly and easily, and then work on something I need to work on. Or, you know, like say for instance I was going to do something, a little painting or something in here. Not really something I should do, but let's say I was going to. I could just take this thing and just roll it outside real quick. It doesn't take but a second. And I can roll that outside. My toolboxes, everything. Not saying that I do that, but that sometimes is kind of handy to have. Or, you know, if you just need the extra space for something or some project you're doing. And this room is air conditioned, so I like to keep it. I wish I could keep it empty all the time, but I always, in the summer, I kind of like to keep my cars in here too, because again, like I said, it's not always on. The air conditioner isn't, but even with the air conditioning off, it has really good insulation. So I try to keep it cool in here. What's kind of nice is really can see, you know. So I'll be doing some videos. When I do some videos on sandblasting stuff, I'll be putting my phone here, and I could actually let you guys check it out. Even though you can see that, I can't see it. It's weird. I can't see anything. Hardly. It's really dark, but you guys can see it. I turn that on. Wow. And everybody can see. All right. Anyway, that's it for the sandblaster mods. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.